They're children's books, Ben. It's not that deep. How's it going, everybody? I'm McRed2. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute since I uploaded. Sorry. Life gets in the way sometimes. But today we're hopping back in with some Ben Shapiro whining about the cancellation of Dr. Seuss. His video, Dr. Seuss has been canceled by angry leftists, is bound to be chock full of bullshit, considering that's not what happened at all. Let's hop into the video, take a look, see what he has to say. Before we get started, feel free to drop a like on the video, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you guys on the team. Let's hop in, see what's going on.
Everybody is on the cancellation block. And if you don't cancel, the best path to joining the woke, by the way, is to cancel yourself preemptively. And this is precisely what is happening to Dr.
The best path to joining the woke is to cancel yourself preemptively. What the fuck does that even mean? They didn't cancel themselves preemptively. They didn't not make the racist caricatures in their books before they were released. They've been out for a while. You do know that, Ben. They've been out for a hot minute. And the publisher voluntarily elected to stop publishing them. Dr. Seuss's estate chose to stop publishing, 6 of their books? Because of racism that can be found in the pictures and content inside of the books that they, again, voluntarily chose to just discontinue publication for. They're not canceling all of Dr. Seuss. Just so that everybody's clear, it's only 6 books. It's not all of Dr. Seuss's library that's being canceled. Dr. Seuss's estate chose voluntarily to discontinue publication of 6 titles that they felt had racist themes, racist ideas, and racist iconography inside of the book, which is awesome. It's the same thing that Warner Brothers did with the classic Looney Tunes cartoons. They're like the old Tom and Jerry, things like that. I may be mixing up my brands, but they, instead of not airing the old content anymore, they simply put a disclaimer at the beginning of each of the episodes, saying that there are racist caricatures inside of this content you're about to watch, but we feel that, you know, not airing it would be trying to erase history, blah, blah, blah. They voluntarily chose to put a disclaimer at the beginning of it, letting you know, hey, shit's fucked up in this. If you want to watch it, go ahead. This is how people thought back then. Dr. Seuss is doing this kind of the same thing, where they're just not publishing racist books anymore. They're not being canceled by anybody, and they didn't preemptively cancel themselves by not publishing them in the first place. They're correcting a wrong that they acknowledge that they had done in the past.
Dr. Seuss. So, Dr. Seuss's books are classics of children's literature. He's the greatest children's author for kids who are under the age of 7 of all time. It is not close. I read Dr. Seuss books to my kids pretty much every day.
I read Dr. Seuss to my daughter as well. I grew up on Green Eggs and Ham, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, Oh, the Places You'll Go. I grew up on Dr. Seuss, and I think it's kind of cool that they chose to stop publishing books that have racism in them. It's awesome. I mean, they were published 70 to 90 years ago. They was when they, you know, Dr. Seuss was writing these books. They're old books with old ideologies and old ideas in them. It only stands to reason that as we mature as a society and advance as a society, that we would kind of curtail what is still circulated in publication if it's just patently offensive. It's not erasing history, it's just not continuing to print things for children that have harmful ideas in them.
Okay, but according to a Virginia school district, Dr. Seuss's birthday can no longer be touted on Read Across America Day because a study said the author's work is, quote, filled with Orientalism, anti-blackness, and white supremacy. Now,
I mean, that's not
I grew up reading Dr. Seuss books. You grew up reading Dr. Seuss books. Everybody grew up reading Dr. Seuss books. Did it make you more racist to read a Dr. Seuss book? Did it ever even occur to you that race was an element of Dr. Seuss books until...
Because people didn't realize it was racist, because until recently, people were pretty fucking racist and just didn't care. Because only recently did people start calling it out, like, as much as they are today. having racism baked into the media that you consumed as a child is going to contribute to cementing that line of thinking and that ideology into your brain. It's not an unreasonable line of thought.
Oh, I just said this 1 second ago? Of course not. Because no one is actually outraged about this. There are no human beings who read Dr. Seuss books and are actually angry at them. All of this is just about signaling. It is about setting new standards, hoops for people to jump through. And if you ask for any sort of context that provides whether the book is racist, whether it is racist to read If I Ran the Zoo, because there are people of Asiatic appearance in the book If I Ran the Zoo, if you even ask that.
Camera angle change. There's a difference between somebody being Asian in a piece of media and someone exemplifying a racist caricature of an Asian person. This happened in Looney Tunes cartoons and old cartoons all of the time, and it was racist. It's not simply just there's an Asian person in the book or in the cartoon or in the TV show. It's that it's an offensive stereotype that's being perpetuated in that piece of media. Like, look at this. This is a screenshot or a picture of the book. This is a racist depiction of an Asian person in media. They're eating rice. They have lines for eyes instead of like eyeballs, like circles like everybody else in the books do. They're wearing like traditional garb, even though this does not take place in Asia. Even the hat, I mean, this is just a racist caricature of Asian people. Again, here it is again with the shoes and the droopy sleeves. These clothes here are what was associated stereotypically at the time with just Asian people as a whole. The mustache, the lines for eyes. These are racist caricatures. It's not simply this is even worse, but it's not simply that there was an Asian person in the book. It's that they were portrayed as a caricature of what an Asian person is. That's racist. It's the same reason why blackface is offensive, because it's a caricature of the appearance of African American people of color. Like the massive red around the mouth to signify and exemplify the large lips that black people traditionally have. The overexpression in the face, like it's a caricature, and it's racist to do that. And it's the same thing with the Dr. Seuss book. They're racist caricatures that they no longer wanted to publish because it was harmful to children. It reinforces racial stereotypes that we don't need in America. Especially with the anti-Asian sentiment that's been growing in America since coronavirus hit, and former President Trump's rhetoric about the virus itself, its origin, calling it the Kung flu and the China virus. Like the way he talked about it spurred his supporters into a rash of hate crimes against Asian Americans and a general negative sentiment towards Asian Americans because of his rhetoric. We don't need that in America right now, and we don't need to be perpetuating old racist stereotypes either.
Even the question is racist. If you say, okay, well, he drew that in 1940, and let's just say that it was insensitive in 1940. Has any child read this in the last 20, 30, 40 years and come away with a bad impression of people from Japan because they read a Dr. Seuss book?
It's subliminal messaging, dude. You know how it works. You're supposedly smart. If you portray caricatures to people that are none the wiser, that don't understand that it is a caricature and that's not an accurate depiction of Asian people, that's going to put that image into their brain, and they're going to grow up with that. It has negative consequences.
To ask that question is to be the problem, because now you are asking for evidence of a claim that is by nature a claim that is rooted solely in feelings. So how did the Dr. Seuss Foundation respond to this? Not by defending their guy. Of course not. Instead,
why, in the year of our Lord, 2021, would you defend a racist? Especially with everything going on, do you really think anybody, especially a corporate entity, is going to go to bat for somebody who is racist or somebody that portrayed racist caricatures in their media? No, of course not. Why would they do that? It's well, I mean, it's basic capitalism, Ben. If it's gonna cost them money to defend Dr. Seuss for being a racist, they're not going to do it because they don't want to lose money. It's all about the profit motive. They're a company. Dr. Seuss's estate makes money off of the content that he created, and they still do, and they want to keep making that money. So are they going to go to bat for a racist? No, because it's going to cost them money in sales. And considering the fact that there's been a media shitstorm about this, they've made a lot of money because of your cancel culture outrage. If it just had quietly happened and you guys hadn't made a big deal out of it, then the people that you're currently shitting on wouldn't have been making money hand over fist the last few days.
The official organization that controls the legacy of Dr. Seuss said it will no longer sell 6 of the author's children's books over racist and insensitive depictions, including his very first major book. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, I can't even remember what is supposed to be racist, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. If I Ran the Zoo and McGilligan's Pool. By the way, I own all of them. You should buy them today. They're great for your kids. The notion that this...
Yes, encouraging people to buy books that have been pointed at as having racist caricatures in them, and you wonder why people call you a white nationalist.
The notion that that he perpetuated Jewish stereotypes as financially stingy.
Look at the spite on his face. He is so mad about this, and the look on his face while precisely discussing the topic of anti-Semitism in these books while being Jewish. I don't understand you, Ben. I don't understand why you're so mad about this. It doesn't affect you. You clearly already own the books, and it's not the rest of the library. It's just 6 books that they chose to stop publishing, and you're mad that they're censoring themselves when it comes to anti-Semitism. You're Jewish, Ben. This is something that you at least should be able to acknowledge as a good thing.
And that all of this appears in his books. The
So
study,
mad.
published in 2019,
He's
examined
so
50 books by
mad.
Dr. Seuss, found 43 out of the 45 characters of color have, quote, characteristics aligning with the definition of Orientalism. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's
Unbelievable
just,
that it's unbelievable that an author from 70, 80, 90 years ago would have been a racist. Unbelievable that an author that wrote the books before the Civil Rights Movement and during World War II, while we were at war with the Japanese and anti-Asian, anti-Japanese Orientalism sentiment was at an all-time high, it's unbelievable that he would include these things in his books. Really, Ben? Is that really the line of thought you're going with? It's unbelievable. It's just unconscionable. I can't believe it. Even though it's literally on the page in literal black and white.
all insanity, but again, to call for an end to the insanity is to excise yourself from the community of the new ruling class. And that is what
the new ruling class, Jesus fucking Christ, Milquetoast Biden has been in office for like a month. There is no new ruling class. He's capitulating to your side at every turn. He just bombed Syria. He backpedaled on everything about his fucking stimulus package and his stance on universal health care. Like everything that we, the actual left, wanted, he walked back as soon as he took office. There is no new ruling class. We're just back to the same status quo we had 4 years ago. You're whining about nothing. He literally represents zero threat to you. Neither does the culture in America. The culture in America is incredibly favorable to your side. That's why we're fighting so hard against you people.
What all of this is about in the end. There's only one way to fight back against people who have declared themselves to be at the top of the ruling class.
To buy a Leftist Tears mug and subscribe to his own website.
And that's to say, you don't get to rule us.
Oh,
End of story.
Sorry.
We ignore you. You're stupid, and we're not paying attention to any of this nonsense ever, ever again.
Really, Ben? Really? Because you're definitely paying a lot of attention to it. 9 minutes and 3 seconds on your, what is it? How many subs do you have? nearly 3 million subscriber YouTube channel, you are paying a lot of attention to it, while saying that you're not paying attention to you. Make it make sense, Ben.
But here's the thing. The Biden administration has bought into this stuff hook, line, and sinker. So here's the thing. The
How?
Biden administration, being members of the new ruling class, and Joe
No, they're not. Oh my God.
Biden being an old, white, corrupt politician, has decided that...
So is he a member of the new ruling class, or is he corrupt and preserving the old hegemony? Which is it? Is he the new ruling class of ultra wokes, or is he corrupt like politicians have always been? You got to pick one, Ben. They can't be both.
He speaks the vocabulary too, and it's very important that he speak the vocabulary, because what
the vocabulary, Jesus Christ. Okay, so apparently the vocabulary is not just being an outright racist. Being an ultra-leftist member of the new ruling class means just not directly being a racist, not overtly being a white nationalist or a white supremacist or a Nazi. Apparently that's all you have to do to be woke, is and to speak the vocabulary is to just not be a white nationalist, white supremacist, Nazi, or be outright racist. I mean, the bar is on the floor, apparently. Jesus.
Basically done is they've decided that by banding together identity politics and socialistic thinking, they can craft enough of a working majority to cram through their actual political agenda.
They can't even, they're not even doing that. They are not even doing that. Holy shit. We have a majority in the Senate, and we're still fucking capitulating to the right out of the ill-conceived notion of bipartisanship. And they're still not getting anything done. There was going to be $2,000 checks, and then to be bipartisan and get bipartisan support, it went down to $1,400, and the right's still not voting for that, and they're struggling to get a bill through Congress when you have the majority. They're not doing whatever they want. They're not shoving their ultra left-wing ideology and politics down your throat. They're barely getting even the most milquetoast centrist Democrat bullshit passed. This is not happening. You're just not, your boy, your ideology of white nationalism and white supremacy is just not on center stage anymore, and you're butthurt about it.
Right? And to go back to the original thesis of today's show, it's all about politics. It is all about power and getting things done.
Life is politics. Get over it.
It's about the authoritarian cramdown of certain policies.
Like what? Name one. Name one policy that is authoritarian and has been crammed down anybody's throat. Because the Biden administration has passed squat so far, with the exception of a bunch of executive orders that were literally just canceling out the shit that Trump did. That's all that's been done. That's all that's been accomplished. We couldn't even get Trump convicted after we impeached him the second time with a majority in the Senate. The right still stood by their boy. We haven't gotten, the left, the Democrats, I suppose, since I'm technically on their team, because the only other team is white nationalism, but I digress. The only thing that we've done is nothing.
Basically, there are a bunch of people who don't really buy into the vocabulary, who have decided they're going to make common cause with people who do buy into the vocabulary, and a bunch of people who actually believe in the inequity is inequality argument, who have decided that they will make common cause with the socialistic wing of the Democratic Party in order to cobble together a new coalition of the ascendant.
There are no socialists in the Democratic Party. The closest we have is the Squad, namely Ilhan Omar and AOC. That's it. Those are and I guess Bernie Sanders. They are the closest to the socialist wing of the Democratic Party, and they're light sock Dems. Barely sock Dems. They want universal health care and universal education. They don't want to seize the means of production. They don't want to eat the rich. They want to tax them, I guess, so that's good. But they're not advocating for bloody revolution to seize the means of production from the bourgeois. They just want people to have health care. There is no socialist wing of the Democrat Party.
You can see this actually pretty well in Bernie Sanders. If you look back at Bernie Sanders' original presidential campaign in 2016, he didn't speak about race nearly at all. It was all about how all of the problems in our society can be laid at the root of the capitalistic system, and if you just get more socialist, it solves everything.
Because one, that's incredibly accurate, but two, there wasn't a massive civil rights movement going on at that time. George Floyd's death and the protests that spawned from that event have changed our culture's conversation radically over the last year. That, along with COVID and the inequities that we've seen in that, particularly in the communities of color, that is why people are talking so much about race right now, because it's been brought to the forefront. It wasn't there in 2016. In 2016, they were talking about universal health care. That's literally what he campaigned on, was I want universal health care and universal secondary education. That's about it. Maybe some light criminal justice reform. Legalizing weed was part of his platform, but that was it. It's not socialism just because you don't like it. Ben, everything I don't like is socialism, Shapiro. It's like every single right-wing nut job wrapped up in one guy wearing a yarmulke. Jesus.
Then, over the course of the next few years, something interesting happened to the Bernie Sanders campaign. He was told that it was not racially sensitive to speak only in terms of class. Now, Bernie Sanders is basically a commie, right?
His
perspective on life is rooted in Marxist fundamental lies about class conflict and how all of human life is driven by this class conflict.
This is stupid. It burns. He's not a commie. He is not communist. He's a sock dem. I'm further to the left than Bernie Sanders. Everything I don't like is communism. Everything I don't like is socialism. Pick one. They're not the same thing. I doubt you could even define them accurately, Ben. Fucking God, I need to get through this video. How did we go from the wokes are canceling Dr. Seuss to communism is taking over? How did we bridge that gap? I didn't even stretch, and I'm doing all of these kinds of leaps with him. What the fuck? Oh.
Everything he says is driven by that.
No.
And so, if you believe that everything at root is about class conflict, it's not at root about racial conflict, right? The black working man and the white working man have more in common than the white working man and the white rich man, or the black working man and the black rich man. It's about class.
That is true. However, there are differences between the material conditions of a poor working white person and the poor working black person. There are differences in their material conditions which are a product of race and racism. You can have both. It's not one or the other.
Class, it's not about race. But Bernie Sanders was told
both.
that this was racially insensitive. And so he decided to make common cause.
It's class
with
reductionist.
And start pushing as many woke policies as he could get his hands on. And this was, writ small, what has happened with the Democratic Party writ large.
What has changed? What policies are... Name a policy, please. Revoking Trump's executive order to get rid of the critical race theory training in federal institutions. That's literally the only thing that I can think of that has been a woke policy, and it's just canceling something that Trump did. They haven't instated anything new, and Bernie Sanders hasn't pushed for anything new at all. He's solely focused on healthcare and education. That's it. That's all he's doing.
This was the magic of Barack Obama, right? This is what Obama did as president. I know that we have this picture of Barack Obama as though Barack Obama was this wonderful unifying figure. That is a figure put forth by the media. It is a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. He was a war criminal. He's not the worst president we've ever had, but he was a war criminal.
Barack Obama of 2004 was not the same as Barack Obama circa 2010. In 2004, Barack Obama was saying there are no black Americans. There are no white Americans. We're all just Americans. There's no red America, no blue America.
I know that's an Obama impression, but could that technically be considered black voice? Could it?
America, just America. By 2010, Barack Obama was breaking down Americans into their identity groups so that he could specifically appeal to members of those identity groups to create a coalition.
In what way?
This is the reason why.
Are you going to give any examples, or are you just going to say this is what he did and move on? That is what you're going to do, because that's what you always do. You're used to debating college students that don't require you to back up your arguments, and so that's just kind of your MO, and that's what you've been rolling with for the last 10 years. You're not going to give any examples to this. You're not. Guarantee it.
He actually shrank his number of votes between 2008 and 2012, but it was enough to get him by Mitt Romney. So the merger between identity politics...
You don't miss. Yeah, he never substantiated his argument. He just said Obama did this and moved the fuck on without it listing any examples. How did he do that, Ben? How did he group people together into their own individual identities? How did he do that? In what way did he do that? He didn't. He just bombed brown people for 8 years and wasn't openly racist and a piece of shit publicly.
And typical sort of Democratic Party politics has been ongoing, and Joe Biden is the culmination of that. Which is how you end up with a machine politician like...
The culmination of the Democratic Party's push is gonna be AOC in 2024, 2028. Joe Biden is a placeholder who the only purpose he served was getting Trump out of office. That is the entire reason why the vast majority of people voted for him, was because he wasn't Trump. We on the left did not want Biden. We would have been happier with Bernie, but even then, that's not what we want. But we settled for Biden because he was better than the alternative, and that is it. He's not some grand culmination of some political strategy.
Joe Biden, and that's what
you give him way too much credit.
For a machine, typical, corrupt old white politician who has suddenly become the face and voice of the racial reparations movement. According to one of Joe Biden's top advisors, he is going to start acting now to address reparations to Black Americans. Speaking to Axios on HBO in an interview set to air on Monday, White House senior advisor Cedric Richmond discussed efforts targeted to helping minority communities. Richmond said they're not waiting on Congress. He said, we don't want to wait on a study. We're going to start acting now. We have to start breaking down systemic racism and barriers that have held people of color back, and especially African Americans. We have to do that stuff now, right? That's the vocabulary.
That's not vocabulary. That's just him claiming he's going to do things. But is he actually going to do that? Because he said he's going to do a lot of stuff and backpedaled on fucking all of it. But that doesn't sound like reparations to me. It just sounds like addressing systemic racism. Reparations would be either the dumb way to do it would just be cash checks to Black Americans, but a proper way to do reparations would be investing in low-income communities of color and building up their infrastructure, not addressing systemic racism. That's not reparations. That's just common sense. That's just being a decent person. Maybe don't let people continue to get fucked over because of the color of their skin. That might be a good thing to do, but is he actually going to do it? I'm not going to hold my breath.
And we're going to specifically appeal on the basis of race and suggest that all inequality is inequity. And Joe Biden has decided that equity is the byword of his administration.
How?
So, for example, he says that we are going to start talking about free college tuition to historically Black colleges and universities. If you start talking about free community college in Title I and all these things, I think you're well on your way. Now, let's be real about this.
White people go to community college too. White people go to historically Black colleges too. Those colleges were established by and for people of color because they weren't allowed into the white colleges back in the day. And so a lot of people of color go to those colleges, but a lot of people of color can't afford college because it's too expensive. Part of the way to start fixing systemic racism is perhaps give low-income people of color the opportunity to get an education, to get the good job we were all promised when we were kids. If you go to college, you'll get a good job. Those kids didn't have that opportunity. Maybe giving it to them will help better their situation, but that's not reparations.
If you're talking about free college, the reality is that the great imbalance in our society is the number of people going to college between people who are Black and white.
Is this going to be an affirmative action argument, or is this going to be a don't go to college, go to trade school argument, because they're both fucking stupid? Let's find out, shall we?
The number of people who are white going to college by percentage is significantly higher than the number of people going to college who are Black. That's not because of lack of affirmative action programs, or benefits programs, or scholarship programs. All of those exist in plenty.
It's because of systemic racism. It's because for generations, Black people have been taught that they can't achieve that level of success in America, and have been shown that through the circumstances of their lives and their material conditions, so they don't pursue that as a career because they don't have it baked into them the way white kids are, that that's an option, but 2, don't have the opportunity to go there in the first place because of money, because they don't have the generational wealth to get them to go to college. They can't afford it. Maybe making it so it's affordable for them will help change that. Maybe if you make it free for black people to go to college, you'll see more black people going to college because there's not a monetary barrier keeping them from doing it. But again, that's still not reparations. That's just affordable education.
Right? The real problem is the failure of lower education, the failure of the public school system.
Is this a school choice argument? I was wrong on the last one. He went in a different direction, which I was not prepared for. But this is going to be a school choice argument because public education is the best way to educate the majority of Americans. Not everybody can afford private schools, nor do they have private schools near them. There is a problem with public education. That's because it's funded by property taxes. So low-income areas get shit funding, while rich white areas get better funding.
So what is this? It's a typical Democratic policy smuggled in under the guise of the vocabulary. It's a typical Democratic policy position that is now being smuggled in under the guise of doing racial justice.
Oh, he's not even going to substantiate the argument.
And then you can push forward the idea that you are speaking the vocabulary and you can build your coalition on the back of all of this. And so this is the new pitch. This is the Biden administration pitch. Use the word equity to cram down all of the typical Democratic policy proposals and claim that anybody who disagrees with you is a racist. Because here's the thing. Joe Biden can't claim that anybody who disagrees with him is a racist. It's bizarre. That dude is whiter than the back of this piece of paper I'm holding up right now.
If you're disagreeing with policies that would have a direct impact on the lives of people of color, that is racist. If you're not in support of affirmative action and policies that would benefit people of color, that's racist. So yeah, I'm white and I call people racist who are racist. If your motivation for not supporting that policy is because it will benefit people of color, you're racist, and Joe Biden can call you a racist if he wants to because it would be accurate.
I mean, if in a whiteness competition, I come in a distant second to Joe Biden. It is not close.
Why? Because you have a tan?
Joe Biden is a super white dude. And yet,
he's also super
because
old.
He's using the language of quote-unquote equity and the language of anti-racism to push forward typical policy proposals, the idea becomes now that it is white supremacy to oppose Joe Biden's policy positions, an old white politician.
Hypothetically speaking, if you were, let's say, educated on a particular topic and then use that information that you got through your hypothetical education to inform your decisions, then you are a woke leftist and I want nothing to do with you. No wonder he shit talks college so much, because it actually educates people on these kinds of topics and that therefore leads them to different conclusions than what he wants. It's no wonder he shits on colleges all of the time. Being educated or educating yourself about these issues leads to that kind of mindset, and perhaps Joe Biden has done that, or that's been done for him. But Biden isn't super woke, is basically what I'm getting at. He's a milquetoast centrist Democrat. He's not going to do half of the things, or even nearly half of the things that he claimed he was going to do during the election, and I doubt this is going to happen either. You're whining about nothing, and you are perpetuating this outrage culture that you were complaining about 8 minutes ago. Again, I want to remind you guys, this video was about Dr. Seuss books. And yet we got on to communism and now wokeness in politics and the Biden administration over the course of 8 minutes. This has got to be an Olympic event of jumping to conclusions and making logical leaps. Fucking shit. You finish the video. Finish the video.
One of the whitest people in America. And so that gives him enormous ability to push forward these positions while calling all of his opponents racist, which is, again, bizarre. Barack Obama could do it because he could just say people who hate me are racist.
Over the last 4 years.
And while it was a lie, he could at least pretend it was true, because obviously, at least the factual basis of him being a black person was right. Joe Biden, not a black person, still making the same exact claims. So when you merge the...
I'm sorry. There were people, and I know some personally, that hated Barack Obama because he was black, and there was a black man in the White House. Are you trying to deny that? Are you trying to deny that there were people that hated Barack Obama because he was black? You're dumber than I thought you were. Jesus.
The democratic coalitional ideal with the racial ideal, and all of it becomes about those systems of power, right? Not about fact, not about the success of the policies, about the systems of power. You can get away with nearly anything, and Joe Biden knows this.
In 9 minutes of video, we went from the left is canceling Dr. Seuss, even though they're not, because the publisher, Dr. Seuss's estate, did that voluntarily themselves without being pressured to do so, and then made their way to this is communism infiltrating America, and then somehow we got to the left thinks everybody's racist, even though everybody is a little bit racist, and some people are more racist than others. And Joe Biden is the ultra woke god of the leftist communist socialist Democrats, and is further left than Bernie Sanders, but he's also not, because he's an old corrupt white man. And I don't even know how to keep up at this point. Like, I don't know how to keep up with this guy sometimes, because it's not because he's smart. He's really not, but he just jumps around so fucking much to a bunch of shit that's not interconnected, and the idiots that watch him and believe what he has to say eat it up. They think he is the smartest person that's ever been created. There are people that worship the ground that Ben Shapiro fucking walks on and thinks he's some intellectual god because he does stuff like this, and they're too stupid to realize that it's just 9 minutes of nonsense and bullshit. I need to figure out what to do about responding to this guy, because it's nearly impossible to just simply respond to a metric fuck ton of bullshit all at once and try to make a sensible video about it for you guys to watch. It's rather difficult just because of how much he jumps around and how you gotta try and link it together to make it seem like it's a coherent thought so you have something to respond to. But anyway, that's going to be it for me today, guys. I want to appreciate you for stopping by. I know it's been a minute since I uploaded, but life has been getting in the way. My work schedule has been all over the place, and I don't do this full time. As you can tell, I have like 52 subscribers. Hey, I hit 52. So I don't get paid to do this. I do have to work. Work gets in the way. I'm going to try to get back to a regular upload schedule as soon as I can. I have a hard time uploading here, but I do stream on Twitch if you want to come and hang out there. I stream every Saturday night and Sunday night, starting at about 7 o'clock. I'm trying to stream more during the week, should my work schedule allow, but you can check it out at the links up there. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. Not really active on there, but you can follow me. And just come hang out. If you want to hang out with me on stream and ask me questions, that'd be awesome. But until next time, I've been McRed2. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I love having you guys here. But thanks for tuning in. Till the next one. Peace.